The rain was falling in thin silver lines against the glass windows of the small diner. Ethan, a single dad with a tired face and rough hands from years of construction work, was wiping his little daughter's mouth after she had spilled ketchup on her chin. He had promised her pancakes, and the only place he could afford that evening was the Sunny Spoon, a modest diner on the corner of Maple Street. As they waited for their food, the door opened and a woman stepped inside, her 2 kids clinging to her sides. Her clothes were simple, her hair pulled into a loose bun, and her eyes scanned the room with uncertainty. She asked the waitress if there was a table available, her voice soft and almost hesitant. Ethan noticed them waiting awkwardly near the entrance and felt a pang in his chest. The diner wasn't busy, but the woman seemed unsure of where to go. He raised a hand and called out, "You can sit with us if you'd like." She hesitated at first, then offered a small, grateful smile and guided her children toward his booth. The kid slid in beside his daughter, and soon the table was filled with quiet, shuffling, and polite introductions. Her name was Grace, and her children, Liam and Sophie, were shy but well-mannered. They spoke in whispers to each other, their eyes lighting up when the waitress brought water in tall glasses. When the waitress came to take their orders, Grace shook her head. "Just coffee for me, please," she said, but her children looked at the menu longingly. Ethan frowned. "Get them something to eat," he said gently. Grace gave him a look, part pride, part embarrassment. I can't right now." Ethan didn't hesitate. "Add 2 kids' meals and a sandwich for the lady," he told the waitress, ignoring Grace's quiet protest. "You don't have to," she started, but he cut her off with a smile. "It's nothing. I've been in your shoes before." She looked down at her hands, her lips pressing together as if holding back tears. As the food arrived, the children began eating eagerly. Grace kept glancing at Ethan, as though trying to understand why a stranger would do something like this for her. Between bites, his daughter started chatting about her school, and soon Liam and Sophie joined in, their laughter breaking the ice. Grace listened, smiling faintly, her guard slowly lowering. She told Ethan they had been moving around a lot lately, looking for a stable place to live. Her voice had that practiced tone of someone used to keeping details vague. Ethan shared a bit about his life, how he had been raising his daughter alone after his wife left years ago. Grace nodded, understanding the kind of exhaustion that never really left a single parent's eyes. There was a strange comfort in their shared struggles, even though neither of them spoke much about the hardest parts. They stayed in the diner longer than they intended, the warmth of the place making them forget the cold rain outside. When it was time to leave, Ethan reached for his wallet. Grace tried to stop him. "Please, I'll pay for mine," but he just waved her off and handed the waitress some cash. "It's just dinner," he said with a grin. She looked at him like she wanted to say something important, but instead, she simply thanked him and helped her kids into their coats. Outside, under the diner's flickering neon sign, they said goodbye. Ethan didn't expect to see them again. The next afternoon, Ethan was called into his boss's office at the construction site. His boss told him there was a big new contract, a complete renovation of the Sunny Spoon Diner chain's headquarters. The strange thing was, the client specifically asked for Ethan to lead the job. Confused, he accepted, and the following day, he drove to the address given. It wasn't a diner at all. It was a sleek glass building with a gold sign reading Sunny Spoon Enterprises. When he stepped inside, a receptionist led him to a private conference room. And there she was, Grace, wearing a tailored suit and looking nothing like the tired woman from the night before. She smiled, and this time there was no hesitation. "Hello, Ethan," she said warmly. "I believe we've met." He stared at her in disbelief. "You own Sunny Spoon?" She laughed softly. "Every single one of them. I like to visit the diners quietly sometimes, just to see them from the customer's eyes. Yesterday was one of those days." Ethan tried to piece it together, still stunned. "Why didn't you say anything?" She shrugged. "I wanted to know how people treated someone they thought had nothing. You didn't just feed my kids. Ethan, you gave them kindness. That means more to me than you realize." She slid a folder across the table. "This is the contract for the renovation project. I trust you'll do a great job." Over the next few weeks, Ethan and his crew worked closely with Grace's team. He saw a different side of her, confident, decisive, and deeply caring about her employees. But every now and then, when they'd take a break, she'd laugh with him about the rainy night at the diner, and for a few moments, she was just Grace again, the woman with tired eyes who'd shared a table with him. The more time they spent together, the more he noticed the way her gaze softened when she looked at him, and the way his heart beat faster when she smiled. One evening, after a long day at the renovation site, Grace invited him and his daughter to dinner, this time at one of the most beautiful Sunny Spoon locations in the city. The table was already set when they arrived, and the staff treated them like honored guests. "This is too much," Ethan said quietly, but Grace just shook her head. "You gave my kids a meal when you didn't have to. Let me return the gesture." Dinner was filled with laughter, and even the children seemed to sense the bond forming between them. As they stepped outside afterward, the city lights casting a warm glow, Grace turned to him. "You know," she began, "sometimes the people who have the least to give end up giving the most." Ethan smiled, knowing exactly what she meant. Weeks later, the renovation was complete, and Ethan was called to the main office for the final inspection. Grace was waiting for him in the newly designed lobby, her kids beside her. She thanked him for the work, but her eyes said there was something more. Taking a deep breath, she said, "I think we make a good team on and off the job. What do you think?" He looked at her, at the kids smiling shyly, and then at his daughter, who was already holding Sophie's hand. "I think," he said slowly, "that you might be right." Grace's smile deepened, and as they stood there, surrounded by the warmth of family that wasn't yet official but already felt real, Ethan realized that the rainy night at the diner had been the start of something much bigger than he ever imagined.